当夜知当作业就难了，将就把多大年家族，那个去接一别所难的，到了本节当，如果说当夜知当作业就难了，将就把多大年家族。아게 제제 예배 선언이 돌아 벤제던 루바라주 산예 제단소 전함라 장주 발도 다니 갸소지 아게 제제 예배 선언이 돌아 벤제던 루바라주 Samjian Tangje Dewa Dewe Yudan Dembara Yuji Samjian Tangje Dunga Dunga Ye Yudan Chawara Yuji Samjian Tangje Dunga La Mebe Minda Wara Yuji Samjian Tangje Nire Chadan Nidan Da Anyang La Mebara Yura Samjian Tangje Dewa Dewe Yudan Dembara Yuji Samjian Tangje Dunga Ye Yudan Tawara Yuji Samjian Tangje Dunga La Mebe Dewa Minda Wara Yuji Samjian Tangje Nire Chadan Nidan Anyang La Mebara Yura Samjian Tangje Dewa Deve Yudan Dembara Yuji, Senja Damja Dunga Dan Dunga, Yudan Tawara Yuji, Senja Damja Dunga Mebe Dewa, Nidawara Yuji, Senja Damja Nide Chadan Nidan, Anyang La Neva, Yuji, Isaiji, Veje Juji Mendo, Rira Linje Ninde Jembandi, Sanje Jindo Mide Mua, Rogun Nanda Jinla Chubara Shu, Etama Guru Rena, Mandala Ganiya Taya Mi. Enlightenment, I go for a suitable in the sun.
By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Until enlightenment, I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the accumulation of the practices of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. May all sentient beings be endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. This crown, spread with incense, adorned with strewn flowers, Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine as a Buddha, and by offering it to you, may all living beings enjoy this pure land. Thus, meeting the teaching of the fearless teacher is due to the spiritual mentor's kindness. I dedicate this virtue for all living beings to be cared for by excellent spiritual friends.
Oh, okay, now go to meditation, right? And finger to like this. Okay. That didn't go under the home gary, so to do Yavana. That to do you look at the data when I could send back somebody in some genitals. To the money Kaza then Digores. You know, Kaza Jogin, Mabokaza did that to Vina. Nimatella to send the Chiglinja. She did she papa Viangela and not tender yours minimal.
So the meditation, you can do as often as you can, this what we call three kind of three section or three, phases. And especially if you can do in the morning, that will be more productive, because with that kind of, starting your morning with meditation, it can have a lasting impact of keeping your mind calm and relaxed throughout the day.
So that thing Joji, the sheriff, the Nije Payan, the Kazan, the Tenda. You might say that they get Tola, Kampanga to shop to G, Koran Digi Pechana, that Garan to Sosa Lapa Pecha the Yode, and then Jim Tito Yavana, Tota, as a law you get it, you may not, law you did Koran Digi Tony, Sambatin, Tonta, shop and do so. And you would let that sheriff the Nije, it was and Koyevas and Niji, the Kebar Karakari, Tito Yana to take it on it. robzojin was.
Yes.
Into the Todambutella, Jangorumichi, the Nasavet, Jangorumichi, Sunshabade, Jangorumichi, Digan la Karisung to Zavena, Budam Shanam Gachami, Damam Shanam Gachami, Sangam Shanam Gachami is a tigi and the Sheti Kungua. The dig in the Sheti Kundula, number Sanji, Juni, Chidam Budam Shanam Gachami is at the Chigi, Sanskrit Gitsikire, Sitkire, and Bogan Nalangazuki, Sanji like the show, Chola Kelso, Gino like the show, they are the Dungi or this. Imbayana Tandaki Tony, Chivachi Yang, Bogi Tony and Dambata, Sanskrit Tsiki, Domatiki, Tunda, like Chabachi Mava, Tunda Chibachi can chat the race. Ta Suya the Karisungor, Sanji like the show, Chola Kelso, Gino like the show, they are the Karisungor is the Vayana, Namba Sanji Bege, Conjo Zechi, Yapsum Zechi. Dugores. O tender a cap the Pandichilan Dugores, and I kept some more the Sungores. That's Sangi, Chu, Gindin Ziade, Mazuge, Harada Tansi, Emma Tovar Jabala, a dog to the Cap Zeti in Gores.
Yes. Topic for this session. Last time we chose from the book. In the book, in English translation, it's The Medicine of Wisdom and Compassion. So it's about wisdom and compassion. And first we'll go briefly what His Holiness said in this book, and then after that we'll go more into the nature and different classifications of the compassion, and if we can cover wisdom as well. And in this book, His Holiness start with the Sanskrit wording, beginning with the Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangam Sharanam Gacchami, which is a refuge verse that we recite in Tibetan. At the beginning of our prayer, I go for refuge to Buddha and refuge to Sangha teaching, and then Sangha. It's exactly same wording and same meaning as well. And so here, His Holiness kind of seems to starting with the introducing sort of the very foundation of the Buddhist, three objects of refuge, and seeking refuge in these three. And so therefore kind of, introducing these three refuge objects. Buddha, his teaching, and then Sangha, community of practitioners. And for somebody who is seeking liberation as well as who is seeking enlightenment, these three become sort of inevitable kind of support factor or accompanying factor.
That Capsum so more that and a year that. And the Capsule Drutul, Camde Payan, Camde Lapjas in it. Savage the Jiptajini, Hago, the Dindigi, Yawa Mampuji or Namda Mampuji or the Chadam to Trindi, Topi Tundu to the Tundunjin, Laco, Sarezeke or Madera. Eh, young. In Banza Tanda Dio on the Lata, Jamuchiki, Karisum to Zavena, Chidan Doa Miji in Chinchella. Yamana Napa Sanji Chulula Tepa Yoginjigi, Tanda Budam Chana Gachamisa Titula, the Capsun Dugo or Tela Tepa the Ichigores. Ota Miji in Chinchella, Chu Dogenji in Bayan, Chu Kelengenji, Chula Ichi Chingenji in Bayena, and a Yab Midawa Yamate, or Misosugi, and Deba Midawa Yabigim to Chene, and Conjo Midawa, and Chulu Midawa Yongwate, ko Young Waji Chagu Yore, and a young Weber Chagu Yavaneji Misozola, or Tachi Pippins and a Pendo or what a Mida Yores. Imba Inayanta, Chidangi, the Chukelengenji want to Chebayana, Chukelengentella, then Jidenko Bobo kill Dota Minders and Ni Yochim word. Then Jidenko Bobo Dogengi lu jidan ko babo mindo gengi lu ni chini ta tanda namba sangi ba zende jidan ko babo mindo gengi choba zende dogo rwa tan dindi chi che dene
And so three objects of refuge that in his Holiness started in this section, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. There is a detailed explanation for the three objects of refuge. However, we won't be able to go into those, beginning with the meaning of each of these three different classifications. What are the advantages, disadvantages of seeking refuge? What are the commitments, advices, instructions if you seek refuge? So, there's a very detailed explanation on the object of refuge. So here, His Holiness seems to be saying when he starts with three objects of refuge that for Buddhist practitioners, being a Buddhist, they seek refuge in these three objects of refuge, obviously there are many others who are not Buddhists, and when they seek some kind of spiritual practices, it is kind of obvious to have a different object of refuge for different spiritual practitioners, because different have a different mental dispositions, different way of thinking. So it makes kind of sense, and it should have kind of diverse belief system or spirituality. And generally when we talk about the religious practice, kind of two big category. One kind of category believing in concept of creator. The other big category is those who don't believe in the concept of creator. And obviously in Buddhism, there's no belief in the concept of a creator.
Tan jidan ko babo dogan da mindo ga niyu ga nani te kanga jidan do mo che namba sangi be ta jidan ko babo ke milengi wondu chine kya kya sum ja de la ja go ate kare ze waina maran zo ge nyam su lenge ka za so so la thopja thomgyur gi kyan dindi ji sangi tom den ji lar do sangi ba na jing maran zo kanga ten kya sum la tene maran zo yu la ne 유캡 단데 캡 니에 베나니 단다 단다 캡순도 하든 아주 기체 유캡데 제거레데 마란조 마오 바나가르조 톰규르 딘디지 여바텔란 데캡드네도 문진 지거레 다 데자 딘디 자고아데 윤전 가르치니 자고레 제바이나 고 그나 미 네바질라와 미 네바질라 네바지 네레 소답 제발라 아니 멤버 야고지 땡고요레 and member Yabotiki Lambton Chenico men Yabuji Ne de la con Tata Piagi and Zuyagi Menji Guyore. All they book and Digo Mare, and never the member the Menji Tebatangi Digo Mare, never the men Teringi Neoji Gures. What this some day Chazaji, Yandabaji, Yabuji Sambaina, never the neck and the Sabchimbuji Yabayana. 고 멤비게 람전 제바나지 맨데테 아니 네오기 멤비 람전 제바나진게 아니 멘테니 두즈마 자니 침바이나 아니 네델 타르토바 나진 아니 사지 젠데 아니 지 캡템바보 지 마오바나 간사 소소 냠줄렘바네 상이야세데 데데데 요레스 상이야게 탑람된데 요레 람가 디요레 맨디데 디자고 요레세 나진 에 땡겐데체 아니 최대 맨내진 맨기 최대지 아니 긴딘제야데 긴돌라캡도 쳐서 긴딘제야데 당게 네바텔라 네오지고도 어때 네오기 쳐지네 김전 딘델라 때네 아니 잡숨 자고데 데데스 임바이나야 땡상기 지도나라 고 미솔 소소게 삼준다면다 알타준다면다 타완다면다 여바인자 카지게 아니 나바 상게베 최제야데 지 취재자 말에 이게 체력이 남자 장장 쉐기도 뭐도 대바다 이책에 오늘 누구 민도스 아니 제바 제야다 심주 제야 강강도 이 최말에 생긴데 요래 경험이 되나는 디송도 이 말에 에 세리 집어 말에 남바 상제비 최져야 돼 치기 나중에 대바나 이체 담라 때네 로야 담마인 바조 낭 셈인 셈런 제 로브종 때네데 냠len 때네데 모 컴펠도 낭로기 낭이 셈 이야기 간데세 당구도 되게 자와지야데 예배잖아요 아니 나바 상제비 최대 화장이 다 자보지다 디지요 내가 개보지요 레스 대송자
So as said earlier in Buddhism, there is no belief in the concept of creator, and instead, belief and seeking refuge in these three objects of refuge: Buddha, his teaching, Dharma, and then Sangha. And these three, object of refuge can be at the kind of two, we can say at the two level. One, we call it causal three object of refuge, and then the another is, refuge at the level of consequences of fruition, and meaning that these three are, at this moment, we are seeking object of refuge, which are in the nature of the cause. And by seeking a refuge and implementing and engaging in the object of refuge, one can become Buddha eventually, just like Buddha in the object of refuge. So this object of refuge can be, as said, causal for object of refuge, and there's also object of refuge at the fruition level, which is kind of the future object of refuge. And because these three are something that can be attainable, and through practice and seeking refuge in themselves. And the reason why they are three, this often cited kind of metaphor. For example, if there's a patient going through illness, first that patient has to consult a good doctor, a physician, and then simply having a physician is not enough. The physician must be prescribing medicine that can cure the illness. And then third, for that kind of a patient also needs a nurse to kind of help. And so therefore these three objects of refuge, all of these three must be kind of sort of combined or inclusive. And Buddha is like a physician, and then he, the actual that kind of cures the illness is the medicine, which is the Dharma, and then to kind of accompany and support and help is Sangha or the nurse. And so because of this reason, there are these purposes, three purposes, there are three objects of refuge. However, as His Holiness, is saying in this book that because of, people's different mental dispositions, way of thinking, some people consider, Buddhists as not based on faith, merely faith and trust or belief. Rather, it's more kind of scientific approach of spirituality. And His Holiness is saying in this book that in Buddhism, simply or merely having a faith and devotion or trust is not sufficient. And in Buddhism, the sort of primary, the focus is on one's own mind and understanding the nature of the mind, and how can one kind of cultivate and develop the virtuous or positive qualities of the mind, so on and forth. Therefore, the Buddhist or the Buddhism becomes much more profound and much more deeper than merely kind of, the object of devotion and the trust and belief.
다된다 상제대 가르래 초 가르래 인도 가르래 கொஞ்சம் 숨세야 되지 여바이나 상제 간데지를 자고래 초 간데지를 자고래 인도 간데지를 자고래 자 같이 랭고로 때래도 상제자 간데지를 자고래 나 답인도 뭐 상제 좀 된다 보라 가서 다자기 좀 봤다고라 배자네 주바이나 상기 좀 된데 나자기 좀 사겨도 봐라니 아니 상기 저거도 가래잖아 아니 상기 저거도 왔다 녀모베티바다 시제티바세 티바니보 안에 배 사변된 제바 알라 장네 아니 때 다버제베네 디디게네 디 고방 톱되긴질라 상기제 잡아레스 아니 최저와도 간디 자고레서 바이나 대 라자 돈바 대 투기게네 배 다가서 예사마지나 샘데레 녀모베티 디마딩이 다 버져 다야데 가와기 텐도 가와니 다고 그래서 생기 텐도 다고 그래서 샘라 로종 제네 샘댕이 녀모데도 건가 다 소나 텔라 추데 샘데라 추데 다 버레스 다 상기 좀 된데 라니기 구조데라 긴드인스니 왔다 상기 공조성기 ngо도 버데 다 다자기 좀 발라페 페랑네 다 주베나 딘디지 자고 그래서
And obviously, the question comes, how can we identify or how can we kind of posit, or define this object of refuge, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha through object of refuge? So if you use kind of, the example of the historical Buddha, what we call, Buddha Shakyamuni, historical Buddha, and historical Buddha Shakyamuni, when we call it enlightenment or omniscient mind, it refers to the the state where he attained the complete eliminations of all afflictions, as afflictions. So here there is a affliction and obscurations to wisdom. So two levels of afflictions or obscurations, including the roots. So able to eliminate completely and able to kind of pure oneself completely. So attaining such level is kind of transforms into what we call enlightened being. And when we say dharma, teaching, using the same example of enlightened being, Buddha Shakyamuni, when we say dharma, it's the state of we can say state of purified state. And when we say purified state, that state refers to the Buddha's own mind stream. And the purification that happens within the Buddha is, that happened in his mind or on his mind. So it's a purification of the mind where there is no afflictions of any kind at all. So we can consider that as a, dharma. And Buddha's kind of physical form or physical body, we can consider that as a sangha, if you use an example of one enlightened being.
Dinde himbaina dinde veda tomba shagya tubata wote ji thoma mebani ta ngama ne so tangboni kora dinde ji gyurde dinde ji yorebe kandire zebaina te mare thoma mares thoma mebani ngaran so da jiba ji yang nyomo ji dibada che de gen lunga isum tamje oda shara duji pumbo imba ane koana khorde ge imba ngaran so da chipa chiya rete rimbe ane pe lam la jane oda rimba jindo sada chi kalorda lam la jane dibate so pangi ane soni zeji sonamgi so da ishigi so zani soni sayo zo ganga 사기 전에 오다 요 망보라 딘디게 아니 소능기 소다 이세기 소사 람라 장 디바방기 방이 다 녀모비 디바방 때네 마시지 디바도 방 때네 시리기 바자데 도 방기 전에 아니 상기도 주대 받지레스
And the example that we used earlier, historical Buddha Shakyamuni himself is not considered as somebody who was kind of already enlightened from the beginning lessness time. At the beginning, he was very much like us, ordinary human being, with the afflictions or obscurations of physical, verbal, mental, made from flesh and bone, and who is in cyclic existence. But gradually, by relying upon what we call path in Buddhism, path, and and accumulations of merit and wisdom, gradually able to first kind of purify afflictive obscurations, and then later more deeper, subtle cognitive obscurations, and able to purify all these level in layers of afflictions, eventually became what we consider or call enlightened Buddha Shakyamuni.
Taimana Maranzo Gangala, Sangi Chomdendela, Sangi Chomdendu Sangi, Sangi Gobanza, the Tobu of Najingi, Maranzo Gangala, you the Chang the Yoris. Lamla Jang Majata, and a combat Matenzati, Maranzo Kaza, Sosola Labor Mato, but that Sangi Chomden the Najingi, you the Yovajila, Te Lamla Jang, combatant in Dovaina, Maranzo Ganga, what that. Just
like historical Buddha Shakyamuni has attained enlightenment, we as an ordinary human being already possessed the seed or cause of the same enlightenment, but it depends very much on whether we train ourselves through path, or whether we cultivate and get familiarized with the path. It's totally up to oneself. And if we are able to train ourselves and to make ourselves familiarized with the gradual path and stages, enlightenment is certainly attainable.
Imba inza taona sangi ji jinju yabuji je balang azu kari chegu doze Sungudu Zena, Karichegures, the Sangi Jinju Yabuji Chebala, and Sangi Tensha Jogin, or the Nijedan. Traden Marantu Gula Yodepe, Zenamidoda, Nijedan. Traden is our Nyamlen Chegores, Sangi Sunshabatela, Nyamlen Cheguyores. Oda, Taganejing Genla Chamba Gombala Tene. So you ranching nga setting, ranching Samluji Ungora. Ota Chamba Gombalatin, ranching Lote, take it shook and a chung don't to yore. Ota Sanjay Zendaki Dungala and Tene and a Sanjay Zendaki and Chige Devi and the Dewachiru. Jendal may be and they don't enemy me Jendala, Sanjay Jenda de la Samjichiru don't to worries. They and a Chugi and a number Sanjavita, Chunyamlan Jagangila, they Chugi thought about the chade yes, this one.
And to make ourselves, we can say good followers of the Buddha, basically means putting into practice what Buddha has taught, practicing his teachings on loving kindness and compassion, and engaging in the practice of loving kindness. We can sort of diminish and reduce this very strong self-cherishing egocentric thought, and through the practice of compassion, we'll be able to kind of understand more about the suffering of others, as well as benefiting them. So these are the very kind of foundational or root practices in Buddhism.
Imbainza te lalen tarwala as sharab da niji lalen taratere kandise tar guyore zela oda ji om ji nyamle latene sharab chebar chego yores sharab phelo chego yores oda sharab phelo chebale tene ene sharab gazo gita phewale tene ne deda nyamdu che semba zambu chene yenla niji ngo compel the toya. Nijing or compel the tonsana, they rimbig into and chamba compel the toya. Chamba compel the tonga latene, Janjuki semze, Yachiru toya. That Janjuki sem Yachiru churutana, Sherab Jingo, and Janjuki semdan Niji to go compel the tanga tangi jene, and a Sanji Koban and the top to your race.
So it comes really down to the practice of, practice of compassion and wisdom. When we say compassion of practice of compassion and wisdom, cultivating wisdom and then developing as much as one can. And along with that, one must also have the practice of compassion, and within that comes the cultivation and then development of loving kindness and altruism, and eventually combination of these two will lead to the attainment of enlightenment.
Sharabingo compel tongse, Sharabingo compel gazet tango yoresana. Matu chula lobjong chen tambo te shaper chego yore, tuber chego yores. The tuber chugi namda, lam yam to landa, any diva pangola, diva panji, diva caracteres, divi ngo carres, divi yo carres, who jundan candidates chungres. You carry, divi you carry, te payala, diva pala, who you the pango yores. Te payagi you carries it. They took on all the tola and a shaper chin, the shaper chin. When we talk about
developing the nature of the wisdom within ourselves, what does it mean? It means starting with the learning, or the traditional word would be listening, hearing. And so first one must acquire a knowledge, and the knowledge of what one needs to understand is what is the path, what is the obscurations, what are the nature, meaning of those paths, what are the different classifications, what are the causes, factors, conditions of such path to cultivate, and antidote, so on and forth. So all of these first must be kind of learned, understand. And once you have some understanding, then, one can move into the practice part.
Imbainza, that young which is soon shall get Sembatena Tanda did it. That then on it, Mazuke Kazuorta, Sherabingo compelled the Toyata, Nijingo compelled the Tonga. What the Sherabta Nijin Yaboti, Napasanji Chugi Zawa, Jizada Bodi, Chaguyova. Doa. Eje. That Kandis Chago Reservina. Niji Dabote, Pena Niji Dabote, Napasanji Chugi Jita. Chinyan Jabali Jita, Kandi the Chagu or Zevaina, Palan Lawa Dabege, Nalenda Keba, Chimbopala Lawata was aging, Gomolundu Lomare, Kongi Diniji Tuyores, and Kanjit Seni Jave Loto opens on the Savantani fell like Chunda Urindo, Longe Nella, members of the Yoruba, teacher Dagi Tomra Ninja Tabargis. The Palan Lawa Dabege Umatsawa Sherabgi, Gombolundugi, Lapan Umatsawa Sherab, the Sen, they tell and Dewa Samduala, Uma Jubas and the Sambari, Sawa Sherab in Dewala, Uma Sherab, Uma Jubas and the Samduala, Sambe Thoma de la Garesana, Nijila. Tojan Zevares. Nizilla Tojan Zego Gare Rezavena, Nizite, Tomar Culture, Pardu Culture, Tamar Culture, Tota Parsum to Culture in Bigimson to Chene, and in Nizi Chumbotella, Tojan Zevares.
And so the section here, what His Holiness was saying, the compassion and the wisdom, these two are the foundation in Buddhism, the root in Buddhist practice. And for the compassion and its importance or significance, we find that in the, Chandrakriti's a text called Engaging in the Middle Way Path. And Chandrakriti is the scholar at the Nalanda University, the student of the great master Nagarjuna. And Nagarjuna has composed fundamental wisdom, and for the commentary, his disciple Chandrakriti composed Engaging in the Middle Way Path. And so in the Engaging in the Middle Way Path commentary text, Chandrakriti started with paying homage to compassion, compassion. And Geshe just recited the words, the words saying that because that compassion itself, it itself is the only one, which will ripen, and ripen, serve as the seed, also serve as the factors, for the enlightenment. So, therefore, he is, paying homage to the compassion at the very beginning of composing his commentary. So, so here, Chandrakriti is paying homage, appreciating compassion, and it's important. Basically, saying that it is important at the beginning of the path. It is important in the middle of the path. It is important at the end of the path, as well as for the enlightenment.
Sonza tanda wale lawda be sungsha yo tsik digi nala kari sungu yore zeba ina anji zingi yawe loto penzo di zedun la pena jingba lega zingi keba jigi zewara jingba lega zingi yabo jigi jingba lega di jidiu gala kari jigo yore zeba ina ambo jingla dabya ki sabandu jora sabandu yabo ji zalgo yore o 사번의 야보지 이어받지 근데 이 징라 때판에 다가서 유 맞아버지니 뒤뒤 라인에 추다야다 다 되겠지 자 젠바데서 끼운달라 데서 발렌네 지 장마줘야라 소바 양세 제거 뒤뒤라 추당거데 바도 줄일다고 그래서 근데 딘디지 제바이나 타마 던도데 디부데네 디부 장부지 민거레스 때 언제든 예열로도 분들 사반도 네벨 춘다 유린도 론전네라 미바서 되게 버서도 아다 징데 아버지 여바체 아니 대가라 징저라다 징가 마타데 아니 사반데 아버지 여바체 달라 출리다 대조다네 디 뒤저라 디 여바체 디보데 민사리 주고들라 고 가져오다 사당 될라지 야 렌네 장마조가다 사당 돌아서 되죠 장마조는 냐바이는 디부디 야고지 용두고 요레스 어때네 신게 사기 고방세데 토발라 닝지데 아니 토마르 갈체와 아니 사번도 그래스 아니 바르도 갈체와 줄일도 그래스 아니 타마르 갈체와 디부 민바사고 디부 민바사고데 갈체도 숭고요레스
In this salutation verse of the Chandrakriti, compassion, because compassion alone is the one that kind of ripens or the fruition of the enlightened state, beginning with this verse. The example here obviously is a farmer who's going to plant starts with the finding a seed which is healthy, good seed that can be a good result. And once that seed is planted, throughout the process, he or she will maintain proper irrigation, watering the seed, as well as clearing away weeds and using fertilizers, everything that is needed in the middle. And at the end, there is, because of prior to processes, there is a good, fruition or result. And so, this farmer going through three kind of processes of cultivation, beginning with choosing or planting, healthy good seed, in the middle, taking care of the, watering, fertilizing, and at the end, good fruition. So the compassion is in the process or in the stages of enlightenment. Its important and significance is likewise, at the beginning, it's like a seed. In the middle, it's important. It's like, fertilizer and water. At the end, it's important as having, good fruition.
가지도 아주게 갈러다
닝제기 여와서
오래 다원나 된다비 니지다 토다 퍼센트 갈 토다 퍼센트 갈체와 있나 어떤 니지가 제가데 칸디세 콩고 담아서나 칸디세 자고래 저베나 지 니지 첨보 전동 kur 가르사 닝제 아니 니제 짬 선전 짬을 니제 짬제지 아니 니제 첨보제 아니 다친이 추송기와 데디 체요레스 가래 간디세 자바나 가족에 배나 칼로다 추케 랭겐다 밀랭게 기 예와즈 게 메와지 지금 미지 임베 차니 토맘 지게 파메기 잠경원에 차론 중 되겐지라 고 라이징기지 세와즈인지 소화데 고 파메 잠경원에 차론김 가사지라 고 랭키기 딘데게 파조르지 냠타베 네수지 롱여베나 아지 강타 삼바지 고 라이징기 여지 여레스 그래서 추켈레멜레 가자 말에 고 랭키기 여되게 닝지레스테 봐. 다 추를 로브종진이 양 갈로레 미리수 주바지 임바나 야마나 소소기 코드 또 되긴지 소소단 델리되게 가사 되돌라 니지 야 젬발라 니지 미 다가세 소메 되긴 근데 어때는 신게 다지 밀 니지 미지 동안 이내서 론다나 가서 제 ngam shushu ki di yo de ke soja dondo lo soba de so yang chi zegom lo sobe kangal de yo ba na nga so soa shida me dingin laksan le matu ni de dendi ki ninje oda tene lam la ta jung lo lobjong chen do de la chi nyarang gyul la ninje yo des de ni dendi ninje ata 소소던 타바던도 얘기한 니지 자고래 소소라니 타바지고 소소라니 에나 코알레 타바잠던도 얘기 규지 닌제 어다 장주섭의 규지 닌제도 다 닌제 첨보지 다신도 첨보전에 자고라 가지기 닌제 첨보제거를 니신도 첨보전에 야지고 애냐라 규 닌제들 닌제 첨보전에 야와잖아 장주섭의 규 닌제들 니신도 첨보지 신도 첨보전에 도저 야와자니 요레스 이 가르스네 전수비 니지들라 니지 전부 제거도 가르스나 지 미기 미단 sem정이 요매 봐. 소 랑단 전지 요매 봐. sem정 간데듯이 여봐이나 랑기 많이 비김 전도 전에 때 탐자에는 배지 동안단에 달라지 마루년배 된대게는 배 세워질라다 니지 전부 제자고
when we look at the compassion itself, compassion can be expressed or can come in many different kind of different forms, different expressions, like small, medium, great, and the compassion such as human beings raising under their parents' caring and love, or whether believers or not, doesn't matter. Human has an innate kind of this feeling when there's, when they see suffering and difficulties, how can I kind of help or assist? There's an innate compassion that, already possessed, regardless of, belief in religion or not. And within the believers, there could be many different ranges of the compassion as well. Some compassion are sort of limited only to their own kind of belief system, their own kind of type, and they can go beyond that, so that level of compassion. And also, more, maybe a little broader, the compassion that is only limited within the human realm. When you see another human being, you have a compassion, you want to do something. But when you see animal, there's not much feeling, so compassion that is limited only to kind of same kind of beings or same sentient beings, and not much beyond that. And then again, within the Buddhist practitioners, when we talk about like a hearers and solitary realizers, their compassion is very much based on oneself, aspiring to free from psychic existence or attaining of liberation, very much kind of self-based, compassion. And again, higher than that, what we call a great compassion of the bodhisattvas. That kind of compassion, whenever they see a suffering of any kinds, wishing to free and making free from such suffering, there's no differences of, whether that sufferer is a human or animals, whether that sufferer is somebody that you or there's no difference of gender, caste, any, as long as sentient beings, there is a compassionate compassion.
임바 송자 셔랍다 니지제디 셔랍 강아주 롭종 전에 롭종 가져면서 가져지 야분 더 지 야르기 진에 롭종 투바 가져 제바 이마이나양 소소라니 지고 던다 근데 소소라니 양만한 소소 코르다 소소 단델 여기니 지고 말로 숨마다 선전 젠발라네 담불리기 미 가사 젠발라네 지 삼로마다한테 지바이나 셔랍더니 셔랍 지 롭종 가져 야르긴 더 바이나 아주 미게 디 할로다 펜도자네미도 미르키네 때 자와지 야부지 제도가 뭐 돈도다 직발해서 돈도 임바이나 소소 조부 야리 동안에 사자리 장자가 사야리 야제 여와체는 도좀 제도고 요래서 살토고래서 칼라야리 야가 당 누가 여와체는 봐 살는 소도고 그래서 데이터고 차도도 제가 넘불리나 대상 여름 제대 손야데 강을 망부지 용기 여바데 아주 미게 로정 가져 여긴도 봐나 지 잠바다 저와 메비 지5 공부도 당마도 윤전도 전에 강할 때다 연구여래서 임바인상 셔랍 가서 야리다 대단냠도 탑지 잠바다 니지 라소바 니가 야리다는 침바이나 아니 탑시 존델 제야디 차거래 탑다 시에 니가 존데 될린 도베나 다 산지 고방자인데 톱규여 어다 잠재기 가르사 탄다 톱규 여대바 인자 셔랍다 니제 배연제 거기 디 조지데갈라 셔랍다 니제 배연제 자르와 윤전 테레스 셔랍다 니제 배연제디 탑기자다 셔랍기 차니 코니 냠도 뭐 제네 도바이나 산지 고방 톱규 여대바디 되게 배연레스
Wisdom and compassion. His Holiness said, what's saying here is that wisdom, or doesn't matter how human beings can educate themselves, becomes, attaining a highest level of intellectual, but along with that, if they're kind of the compassion part is limited only to human only, then that doesn't really help, serve the purpose. And it doesn't kind of serve the purpose as a human being, or especially intellectual human being, because able to make one's own kind of living, successful, healthy, thriving, vibrating. This can happen even at the animal realms. The animals, they can find grain grass, water, mealware, and they can thrive their own kind of, animal, type or, community. And His Holiness is saying here that, many of the problems that we are facing in this world is, is very much lacking of not able to develop that quality of loving kindness and compassion, although there is a high development of wisdom or intelligence, part. And so therefore it's important to kind of, along with the wisdom, intelligence, we need to develop the nature or the strength or the, profundity of the compassion and loving kindness, or the heart, the heart part. So therefore he's emphasizing the importance of wisdom and, compassion, or the method side, must be, together. And when you have a combination practice of wisdom and the compassion, or the method aspect together, so the title, therefore the benefit of such would be for Buddhist practitioners, the attaining of enlightenment. One can attain the highest level of enlightenment, and that level of benefit is there.
어디를 샤스타디가네 퍼센테이지나.
Sure. We'll take a break here. Sure.
야, 다당보 두시지다요. 나중에 그는 니지들라 니지기다 연결되지. 프로브지주나. 다 삼전 강기야 개버도 맞게 비친로. 강기야 개버도 맞게 비치니 삼전 삼세 지요래. 삼전 삼다 삼전 탐지 자가지 가자기 개버도 맞지. 아니 라정기 개버도 맞지. 근데게다 다가내진 미다비 개버도 맞지. 다메기 개버도 맞지. 근데게다 자기 개버도 맞지. 자데 미다비 개버도 잡아. 다메기 개버도 잡아. તે શેગવર્દે એના મારા જોગે તા જીતા સમજન જ્યાદે સમજન સામ લમીને તે દુઆ તટાલા જી મારું 냠베 지 주민이 재와지요. 때라 니지 지고 니지 잠지 되니. 니지 잠. 되네. 다 된데기 समझन लमीने रो तब थाए बे समझन लमीने ये दोनों दाची मारो तब न्याबे समझन थामजे लमीने तेरा दोनों दाटाला जी मारो न्याबे जुमेंगी जवादे निजे चेंबोजे तब समझन थामजे चिकबा इंबचेने मिया ते समझन थामजे चिकबा इंबचेने 대다 동안다다는 지마루 때 달러 사기 자오스 네 달러 제 도구도데 스타비게다 제와델라 다 니제 체메제 야스파.
Still on classifications of the compassion, if you look more into it, we can categorize compassion at this different level. The first one is aiming merely at the sentient beings. Merely here refers to simply at the sentient beings without kind of analyzing whether they are impermanent or not, selflessness or not, without analyzing the feature or nature of the sentient beings. Simply enough sentient beings, and then having this thought, the compassionate thought, may they be free from suffering. That's one level of compassion. And then another compassion would be you are aiming at, under the object of observation or your focal object, all sentient beings. You are aiming at all sentient beings, and then you have this thought that may all be free from suffering, aiming at all sentient beings. And that is, higher level of, more higher level of another compassion. And
समझन मी बच्ची बाई बचेरो ते दोंगा टावर ते नीगी तेदा दोंगा टावर चे थोगी तो संबे
the Torah language. And then third, or same kind of object of the observation, looking at every sentient beings. And now you have kind of more, say, powerful or more deeper. Not only you have, may all day be free from suffering, but taking kind of resolution, I will make this happen. So, that becomes even a stronger, deeper level of compassion.
이마인사 어딘데 이거는 다 니질라 치중기 개발다 지 공어 공발도 다야라 다 가르고르다 자위기 다 야쇼지 가족이 선전단제 많이 비기 랑기 친디 말라 미니마데 친디 마데 지 냠다베네서 지 동알지를 놓으면 때랑 가족이 협답 동알들이 협답 탈답 지하대 가서 라이징기 랭기 연구하러 근데 보고 아마라 찾잖아 아마 되게 보고대 데 말은 저는 가서 다 컨슬라우트 단도 전에 센디 마들라 담부 센디 마데 소소라 딘침보 이미 김전도 전에 센디 마데 소소라 가져지 딘침보 이미 김전도 전에 데라 딘렌 잘고다 가지고 랭겐도 마선에 차대요 어 대 김전도 전에 센디 마데 김전도 전에 데라 딘렌 잘고가 난진 샘전 지게 멀리 봤다 소소 마치 마뉴와다 야마나 제 짐바다 제 짐바다 제 버기와 근데 숨기나라 만디베다 지 샘전지 매대바 저 도마메 바리 망부지 상 마제 짐바 단디 센디 마데 마 랑이 마제 짐바 다 되네지기 마오바나 가져요 가서 고하나 거 대적이 샘전에 지 희활랜데 레릴라 마르리 유니용 마마제바 매대바 김전도 되네 다 샘전 담제 센디 마나이진지 레 다데 인도 마데라 동알 여바네진 동알 여바네진 샘전 담제 직바 임바 동알 여바 센디 마데 동알 캡도고나 센디 마지 보디가 말 샘전 담제 동알 대달이 캡투 우이도 선배 두스마 삼로데 다베나 네 단니지 뭐 콤벨도 동알 탑 여가도 탑 삼로 동조가 레라스도지 자금에도
So the first thing is, as said earlier, many different levels or forms of compassion, and talking about how to, develop the compassion that we already possess. Maybe this is easier way to kind of contemplate. Based on love and care that one receives from one's mother in this lifetime, kind of starting point, and from Buddhist point of view, when you receive, loving care, from your parents, mother especially, and repaying that kindness is kind of natural responsibility that, one should be having and doing. And so looking from that perspective towards other sentient beings, all other sentient beings can be categorized into three forms. And Buddhist point of view, and those that has already, been your mother in the past life, and those, the one that, are currently right now, and then, those whole kind of another who could be your mother in the future life. So when you look from that point of view, then, as long as they are in the cyclic existence, they must be going through the same, difficulties, problems, just like my mother in this lifetime. And therefore, for my mother, it's my responsibility to, help free, assist, from suffering. And I should be extending that towards all sentient beings. And that would be maybe easier way to kind of cultivate and develop, the compassion to kind of higher or deeper level.
되네 다 단다 조지리 돌아다 되네 잡지 만도 다 직전에 같이 체대와 여바나 그런 TV 토는 뒤치고 또 TV 딜링 토는 뒤치고
So maybe this is about the topic today, and if you think something missing or incomplete, you can ask in your questions.
And Geshe was talking about fruition, refuge, and these three parts: doctor, medicine, and the nurse. In the final chapter of the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Shantideva, it says, "May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse on beings until everyone is healed." Is that then about that's explicitly about attaining these three refuges?
이는 고속이나 시중
럽지
준주의 류 중업의 루나로라니 시월에 남면람들이 견도 센다 멤버 차야다 지겨라 된데 단다디 잠도 대접기 잠도 꼴로 송고로 해서
아 단다 디닝 잡숨기 뭐지 뭐더지 제바당 단다 준주기 리우나라 손샤도 손샤베티니 단다 찍베지야레스 유캡라 임바이나한다 대캡라 임바이나한다 잡숨 찍바레 잡숨 유캡기 잡들라 잡숨 상기추기는 숨제거래 대캡라 제바이나 상기추기는 숨제거래 당아도 유캡던 지 잡숨부터 멤버 개바지다 맨다 네 네요라 페자네 페티 숨라자네 숨바데 전주니 숨바데 찍바데 디니 숨바데 찍바레스 자위게 가족의 캡텔라 다 유캡단 대캡데 예와 최고의 가르에 제가 있는 나바 상기베게 지게 소설라 마음만 통규르기 되게 캡숨지요래 데라 대캡제고레스 유캡 가르잖아 단다 마란주 캡수 졸레디 가르잖아 단다 마란주게 대바다 이제 제사기 캡텔라 유캡제고레스 데라 이 대바다 이제 안에 대빈 디부텔라 마오바나 소소라니 텐디기 캡숨바데 포버 쇼어드니다 지몰람 게고라 제마도 지바레스
So yes, Gyujab and Tejab, causal refuge and fruition refuge, same what Shantideva expressed in the final chapter, and three example: physician, medicine, and nurse. The reason why kind of categorized into these two, causal and fruition, is fruition meaning that these three are the thing that we can attain in the future. So these three could become a fruit to yourself, on yourself in the future. But at this moment, current time, you are seeking refuge and relying upon three objects of refuge. And those three becomes a causal refuge, for your own kind of becoming kind of enlightened or refuge in the future. So that's why I kind of categorize into two. One at this kind of moment yet to attain, one that you're going to attain for yourself in the future. And then obviously in the prayer, you can make such prayer, may I attain, become a Buddha, as you said.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
This wasn't a reference to this. So when you're purifying karma, I'm doing the Vajrasattva practice. That's what I do every evening. Are you supposed to? So like throughout the day, you might like commit more than one non-virtue. Are you supposed to purify individual karmas first and then do group karmas? And if you have a karma if you have something you repeat over and over and over again, and it's happened many times, should you wait to do that in the future or purify the present karmas of that day or the past day or something?
그럼 이마다와 디 샤과 돌심고네 샤과 치고서 내 샤과 제대니 샤과 제대니 더 수수 미게와 직사스나 미게와 직사스나 샤과데 샤과래 야마나 레레 샤과래 야마나 고란다 거시에다 미게 고라가시 보내고는 같은 게도 제대로 위해서라 근데 얘도 싸가시는 제대로 지금 마음 벌라 현상 대비지를 잡았어요
맞게 니마치게 나라다 도마 조근이 세바단 랍상 울롱 덴디지 키에와다 드링이면은 랑에 자와 가르쳐 봐야나지 울롱 장보지 제고 어떤 전라 처자니 진행 말에 저와 미제 어떤 가족 도둑에 지 삼전이 던지 두고 신라 팬도지 제고 또 같이 된지 좀 팬도 못 되는 단내 미샬 선배 꿀론지 자위기 해야 되버 제로아 다 대강라 당하나도 개와 거절 가래다지 지구 여바 임반다도 다 같이 된데 매바이나 지 ял라 너지 된데 잘라이나 리빌리 된데 소바이나 다 당부 소디당 고 가래잖아 지 타도당 제당당 다 콘도던 된데 왕기 원도 주려는데라 고 라메도 쇼트 거래 라 고 제당수 다보지 세미나라 원도 주려는데라 맞저게 리기 예라데도 고 라메 바고 바 쇼트에 용구여래디 이나데 제라 가졸 게섬 다보지 추청부지 레바이나 다가랑이 샤바 제도 거래스 샤바 제데 갑도 샤바이나 다 야쇼데 데레스 다 가지 덴데 다보지 마중바이 나야 아니 조게 콜롱 상부지 케 원다냥 지 냐가라모데 마냐 콜라 소소게 소소소라 제바지치니 드리니메나라 네 자와 지 루가 이숨기 자와나라다 leg bicha 가져진 도 야 밀렉 bicha 미기 bicha 가져주도 대체받지는 미기 bicha 지 마로 여바이난다 징이 여바이난다 근데 여바이나 근데 사 제여바이나 단디 마선 땡이 지 미년 받아 지 미로와 지랭이 그래 노스마 갈로데 탈샤스 셀레갈샤스로 셀레갈샤 딘디미로 당 진전에 자는 미제선베다 도지 참여권의 샤dom데 제가는 니마지기나 강사바데 미겨 강사바데 니마지기나 샤dom제나 디고레스 로 다 때문에나 되네 고 가래서나 딕바젠데 고 주도당 나도 주도 디 세컨 코로나이징이 고게 뭐데 마로 펠두고레스 로 갑둘 샤돔 제도바이나 고 딕바사바데 다가라 샤차르 메바 다차르 고 마롱어 펠아요므로 임반자 가조 두두기 갑둘라 람상 딕바지 사바이나 딕비 갑둘라 샤돔 제도바이나 도브지 타요 샤돔 제바디 도브지 타요 샤돔 제바이나 딕바데 다기 오레스
You know, whenever we start our day, you know, related with the practice of purification, starting day with the, you know, having a strong intention that I'm going to spend this day, this entire day, you know, if, you know, I can benefit others, if not, at least, you know, abstaining or restraining from harming others. Having that, you know, intention strongly kind of generated in the morning. And starting with that, and later in the day, you know, additional to that, you know, related to that, when encounter, you know, doing kind of negative non-voicious activity, especially, you know, out of strong emotion, anger, hatred, jealousy, at that time, you know, you really don't have immediately kind of power over yourself. You know, your emotion dominate yourself and it expressed in the physical behaviors, you know, responding, you know, in a violent or harmful way. And so immediately after that moment, if you can, it would be good to kind of, you know, have a strong sense of regret that I shouldn't have done that. And that immediate, you know, would become then one way of purification. That would the most kind of, you know, effective immediately. And the sort of the another way is, you know, at the end of the day when you're going to bed, then kind of reflect, you know, review, you know, look back your 12 hours, how you spent your day. And then kind of, you know, if you have done more harmful, more negative, destructive, then just having a strong sense of regret, remorse that I shouldn't have done that. And along with that, kind of having decision or resolution that I'm not going to repeat the same thing in the future. And if you are able to do that with the, the 4 powers antidote, then that will consider as a purification of the negativities that you have done in that day. So so that would be most effective and most productive, and that doing immediately as soon as you can. Otherwise, it is considered that just like the time moving forward without stopping, non-virtuous or unwholesome activity that we created left sort of remedied would multiply. So the best way is just if you can do it immediately with the practice of four antidote powers.
Pena Nimachilla Diva Sasha, but Wanda Nagalamazela Con Geshe Tobji Tayogunity, Shadom the Chivana, Nimachilla Sasha with the body, Tepchila, Shatubur, Chigua. Then Tedanyamdo Tondako de Carlos of the
Torjisambayin.
Mare, what Diva Shadu like Libachi Yanker Yongu Yovena. They were cheaper the Yankari go Jungu Yovena. Go Shadom Chigores. Shadom Chidon, the Kobji and Shadom Chidi. They Kobji Nala Kari Ungors and Chick Chinche Michi be Digiungor Tamjaji. They intimate Chigores. They put in a Halsha, Norsha, that Chinching and the Tawing in Michi and be Tamjaji. 진짜 미제냐 배 담자도 인지 미지 동거래 담자도 맞으나 야 그 다가지 팬도고 말해.
So in one day, if you're able to do purification practice at the end of the day with 4 powerful antidotes, then that is considered as sort of purification of cleansing on that day. However, if there are, as you said, negative activities or non-virtuous activities that you are sort of repeating over and over, in that case, again, within the 4 powerful antidote, one is resolution that I'm not going to repeat that again. So you need to sort of focus more on that. If you're doing it over and over, kind of reminding yourself that I have done kind of sort of extreme very mistake that I shouldn't be doing, and sort of strengthening that resolution and making sure that you're not going to repeat that again. And that is one of the 4 antidote, and it should be one, and therefore you should be kind of doing that over and over, especially with the repeatedly doing kind of non-virtuous activity. Yeah.
I don't think anybody can answer this, but why do we have a life where life lives off of life? I mean, we can't really stop suffering, because a good leopard mother has to teach her cubs how to kill other animals and eat them. So I don't know if anybody can answer this, but why is our world like that? Like, it seems like a bad idea.
다기 부부도 gellas 부부야 소종 제주도 아니 세다 사단의 줄라고로 일라고도 거저단이 조인데 좀다 아주 내다 걸 텐데 싫어 스타디 디 아니 디 칸데스레로다 가르신데라고다 렌다 요르 상금도 사모랑 아주 랑신이 된데 싫어 걸었다 메기어 책
당아 쪽에 넘버 3집에 용리 셰바이나 지다 Samjang Kazu Kanditaji, Swa Kanditi, Netan Kanditi, all like Kebain, and the Kerangi Pelan de Tade, Tadavina, Gotala Bui, Tambo Hene, Kalikale, Salon Junguji, 코랑기 조복이 초였던다 초와 간데스 기하고 조복 초야데 초야게 탑시데 sem전 간데지는 소소 초와게 돼 제도 그래서 가서 당기 공라가지 중원 봐. 대 초와게 탈람데 돌아 조복이 살다면도 다 연단선에면도 때 라고요. 나라도 미 찾아배나 미지 보고들라 파마 간데 잡지나 보고들 럽정 야부 간데스 제고도 또 럽정 야부 제도 보고되게 미진 둘람 야부지 요하기 알람들라 타니 뒤지고 그랬어. 그봐. 다 이마이나야 거리고 간데지 올라 김마키 자데 다 남바 상제베 주네 아주 레제지 samlo tangu yore, killing, molenchi gore. Or Tindiki Tony Shabana, also Lela, Puru Kandich like him, I give out the Mazoga Lela Rally gores, Laser de Lera. Chesa Tundu Risuba, Talas about Tindiki Risuba like Kazi, Kevaina, who Sanjin Sen is Zago, Yella Savach, Chiadi, Kuzubu, Sota Chadder, tell a Chiaka Gujiomaris. Tindela Miki. Kiwa Jema tella dindela Miki Tablam, Tana Milu top against G Marcy, Dongo Miri to give a Dindiki, Samlutani again, or that leg, she laying and Bajigan tell a lot of chair against Samlutani. So many chick. Che to the Jag, Nuba, Jandan Masona, Sanjan Jandan, Midawa, you're the button of the Migi Luteres. Tandiki Lugo Dila, also Milu, you're again Dilla. Kiwa Jema de la Candicilla, Kigu Yometa. Tindiki Itachi Semjing Tunduki Risukibata, Tindela Kimituki Tapsi Jadi, Tandi Mizidilla, so Chena Chia Yodabaches.
From Buddhist point of view, the example that you mentioned, cups, killing, eating, it's for them, it's the way of livelihood. And we can say that, every sentient beings in their own kind of way of living, they have a skill that is needed, to sort of stay alive. And along with that comes kind of, parents teaching skills to their children. And that is for their livelihood, to stay alive. And likewise, as a human, parent teach their children, gives education, send to school, and again, that's for children's kind of future good living. And so here we can say that now what kind of realm or what kind of environment that you're going to born. Whether there's a choice or not, in Buddhist we would say kind of because believing in karma, it's very much up to one's karma way to where you are right now and how to deal with that. And for animals, being an animal, that's how they live. That's how they sort of natural way of passing skills to younger generations in order to survive. But as a human, as we said earlier, having human intelligence and having human kind of, capacity, we can look into those different ways of survival. And then, we can learn, understand, and now, where to reborn in the future or what kind of reborn take in the future is very much up to us. And we can sort of, in a way, we have a choice whether you want, we are going to born in such kind of, existence without, any kind of sort of, or we can born into some, so at this point, at this kind of moment, as a human, we have that capacity, and sort of choosing our way where to reborn, and we have that choice.
Imainza, Mazu Mila, Simjan Janda, and Mida, Tumo Maiba, Kazam Kajeshaban. Maju semla ji sharab zayati sem ji gijele masona nipa da masona ji keparwa ji yode ba ko rangjo nganjo gawa yuna gyure yode ba ji yoba da ngaju sem de mila tegi tone yuwa tana tanya yode ba ji ta yuwa ma tana 돈도 빠져 돈도 사장인 때문에 돈도 사장이도 나 사장은 누구인 데 봐이나 될라 제게 그지 돈도 대 집에 지게 자송을 못 그럼 미다 돈도기 여와도 칫 맞도 차송으로 이만자 미제데 남주에 달든 남주에 여야 버디 투모면 미기 개체 미기 남주에 되래 다 남주에 장보지 졸라 베제 당마당다 냠바지 졸라 베제 당마당데 미 소소라다 알리고 아마지기 부글라 럽종 가져면서 가져 야고 다 잠불릉니 럽종 야쇼데 때바이나 아 때바이나 타마들라 타마로네 파 생인지 에 교르시버지데 그 대고 남자들 미기 아주 럽종 여인이 미기 남 럽종 때바이나 그 남자들 베제마다는 그 딘데더비 차송라 돈도더비지나 따다지 zila soba semjen zangi bu dezo inbaina bu la yangzal de da ji so so chwe da lab de thama da so so phama lonis senyin de yoro de sen zangi hu tu de la bu phama gi bu sen zangi za dong gi semjen de mangbo yoro de gozol khayo mari ko ranjing gi de sal de namje de me so re chwe da la da choji kyal go ya de ko semjen kan de shi bana 갈로단 되바다만서나 여대로.
So unique, quality of being a human species is human wisdom, and but whether this wisdom, intelligence that we have can be used in a positive or negative way is totally up to us. It can go either way. And if you don't use as it should be, the human way, then it doesn't matter. We are more or less equal to animal, so human intelligence, unique human intelligence, whether we want to put into proper use or not, is totally up to oneself. And although in human society, parents do their best to educate children, send to best school, give everything, but there's really no guarantee at the end, where that kind of education or knowledge or skill turn into. It could turn into something very destructive. And we can find sort of same in the animal realm, lions, tiger, they teaches their, children kill, eat. But in a very worst case situation, it can happen that, they eat each another out of extreme hunger. So because every living being, as long as they're living being, they want to survive and exist.
He
wasn't sure whether there was accurate answer or not.
Thank you very much. If there are no other questions, I have a brief request of Geshe.
Sure.
I know that there were several people in the room here today that were not here last week. Would he briefly go through the steps of the meditation practice, the breath meditation practice he showed us last week?
곰기는 처음에는 뭐한테 삼중에서 가서 계시로 곰기하던 직전으로 어디 칸데스 보내 직전으로 치달라도 Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can feel free to sit in, come. Because I think this setting is from COVID setting, right? So there's a big empty space in front and we are facing towards the Tangas, not to you.
This is Tanang Negi Gom Jati, Mazu Luru Gudu Zayate.
Luru Gudu. You could see the Taka famous. You could
Luru Gudu the Wu Jung that Wu Yora. Two Zayat Simba in Bikajare. Rather than a Yenisum, Yernisum, any Niganis Sumjinin, put Chacha in Bikajare.
Yes.
The Luru Gudu Zora. That Luru Gudu Zade, Yankur Dese Yavana, Savige, Amboson de Dungala, Lunana Chu Lense, the Kachet Shigor. Deda, Matu Deda, Lunana Chu Lense Dola, and all, and then the Tozo, all cook up to the Tozo Tovayana, Tombo Yovache, and a company Doji, Juna Doji Kilun, Doji Kilun, Campi, did and ding and Duzma, Side the Doji Kilun. As it came a check Kilun, Tanang, Manazon Deda Della, check Kilun. They are Mavana, that's also Zubuki Neta Gandichi Lapani, Zubo, Tachi Yaga Yungi, Neta Gandichi Tony, Yaga Zubo, Chi, Tang Machavatini, Nalmanga, Kangal Machavatini, whichever came with this. That Gezi Tampo Shangs or Katana Shango, Garden Long Ueli Kevario. Then Umbani Duzma, Chanyam Chigores, the Nitera, Chanyamche, and then Jimba Hajang Tomata Memata Chini, Serembo Jigala, and then Longi Mite, Sotogi Hajangi Tarimbo Maltachi, Yang Hajangi Zumshaba, Mik Zumshabani, and then Nikuya, Chiwa living water. Hajangi Tarimbo and Tendel Tavana, Yang Jin Zunian Damida Sharon, Sam to water, the Chiwa living water. Over language. Sometimes Jingo needed the home you get home la nurturing purchasing it, the Yernaman needed, co-needed. Or then you may live it to me, Hajangi, Damada, Hajang Zumada, so then doing Kadu Toyaji, or the need of which is. And let's check the Kala not to check it, the Kasugi, Rama, de la Tusma, Jara, in a garden. You know, home, you know, Japan in Mana. Kanala Chima than the Miola Projigori. Kanala Chima than the Yombana, Yansan Chima de Yamani, Chilo Sugar Yamana, Nalo Migo, take me by Sijun de Alec or Gachigora. Chezan Chima Mio did this, Chizikan to Charter. What the Niji Tonita Lapani di color that Tevonlara. Tevoni Sinlagi the Zala dos Manes. Right. The names are done, the dos mandams and Zumuji to get the dos mandam, the galadus, Pimugit, Galadus Maja. Then it take origin, yeah, take two cheshara.
So in Tibetan, Loro Botu Geshe was going. Loro Botu 9 cycle kind of session, so because there is a 3 cycle of three group of 3 cycle, so total becomes kind of 9, 3 together. So that's why it's 9 cycle inhaling or exhaling. And physical posture, usually what we call postures of Buddha Vairutana. So when sitting, it's always good to have a back part of the sitting slightly higher than the front. And feet posture, if you can maintain what we call Vajra, cross leg, which means facing, bottom of the feet up in the both. But if not, then half Vajra, that's what we are sitting now. And even if you cannot do that, then maintaining whatever that is most kind of productive for your posture, which productive meaning the posture, when you can maintain that, you'll be able to stay for a long time without, discomfort or pain. Do that. And then back, backbone straight, shoulders in balance, not too high, not too low. And neck, again, kind of what you maintain your usual moderate. And vision, kind of bringing down to the tip of nose, not kind of open wide eye or not completely closing it. And if you close it, there's a risk of coming mental dullness, right? And if you open it wide and looks, kind of far away, there's a risk of mental agitation, because this mental agitation or excitement and dullness and laxity are the 2 primary obstacles for the meditation, calm abiding meditation. And tip of the tongue touching upper palate. And that way, kind of when you maintain a long meditation, it helps to sort of, not to kind of gather what do you call it, liquid, saliva in your mouth. Otherwise, if you have, saliva kind of gathering, either you have to, gulp it down or you have to throw it out. That kind of, again, becomes, obstacle. So helps that way. And then the hand posture that Geshe is showing you, the thumb touching the lowest line of the ring finger, and then making a fist, and then kind of starting putting that on your knee. And
Sam the long draw chibola mi pategores. Long chilo you at Nala Mubia Tangala Chibola Sam Gender Dimini Jambit and Mayang Bajini. The long draw chibola Sam Tegores, Sam Teade.
And your focus should be only your breathing, exhaling and inhaling. That should be only your focus or your object of concentration when doing this meditation.
That long now to Moya long down, chin Moya long ngo Karizan go Mozo Tan Dote, Jangchak is Dotabi, La Samlatang, Dinditabi, years and Samlachitang. They Karizana Tan long Yueti, Yusak Lamgate, Ngatu Zubanala, that Saigi, me Toma Chatini, Sauma Roma Chamas and the Tambo, Mengaldo, Migi Zubu Chazanjim, Machavan. 다 미 좀 맹아도 차인도라 또 난난보다 달다보다 다 되게 제요 뭐부지를 강다 자기 차이게 내가 레이도라 눈 다바제 눈 지방 아빠지나 이나 인삼소 다 된대징 같은 것도 근데 자기 자당에 내단을 레빈도라다 토마텔라 자 숨냠도 자우마 로마 장마즈네 자 숨도 좀 루베 지도네 뭐이 네 누르기 때봐도 야 근데 자지 자고 그랬대 자위기 자 숨들 다롱 유사된 네 타만이 되는도 좀 유고 그랬고 야 임바인자 또 살람들라 근데게 살람 숨제 아니 살람 기마데 몬보제 아니 예데 가보제 연데 마보제 더 딘디질라 섬라다 다 자기 예연이 되네다 롱디 유에 섬 유구여바 섬라당 봐 딘디지 섬라당
이 원보제네 가본 마음
예데 가보제 연데 마보제
and they explaining about visualizations of the wind channels, that goes from tip of the head all down to the tip of the sexual organ. And so when, during the development of fetus in mother's womb, maybe around 4 or big, which was saying week, there is a development of the wind channel at the back, and 3 wind channels kind of forms together, and one at the center, center being bluish color, and then right white, and left red. So you visualize those 3, wind channel.
다 딘디게 다 이해 가르고 염 마르고도 자고데 가래잖아. 기기 원보디 소속에 다 신도대회 롱섬데 임바당 네 카르마니 예응게 카르마니 보되게 맞아 매응알도 당보 니잠 자리온도라 밤에 쿠다 카르마니 보 뒤발레테네 대니보 뒤바당 소속에 신도대회 롱섬이 쿠다게 된도 참조하데 대숨 뒤발레테네 다 매응알도 맞아 미기도 보데도 마 차인 거래 이 차이게
The symbolism of these 3, wind channel, center white represents one's own subtle, wind energy, and then red and white represents the substances that actually makes you, the male parents kind of, white and red droplets of blood. So represents, these three.
다 되네 지기도 되게 돌아 삼로당 다 되네 다디 가르서 지도는 도스제로 엔 도스네 디 당보상 도스네 도스 라바이 디 베메타가네 도스 마칼레 야 경닝기 방고 타가라 지네 도스 마캅도라 상 제상소나 라바이 데 영기 디 청옥라자 네 라바 연바데긴 좀말랑네 나고 얘기도 까 근데 롱 나라 뭐 도시네 나라 mov도라 나고 도시네 나고 연는다 나라 mov라 나라 mov도라 나기 다 자연이 되는 마 요네 대화기디 대화기 오버도네 대회 나로네 도스마 나고 얘네 마 피야레스
So Geshe has just shown you the postures, facing downward on your knee, then, bringing it up through your throat, and then keeping it straight, both fist hand paddle, and then, your right fist bringing under your left arm, and then the index finger, right, of the left blocking your one nostril, and then exhaling. First inhaling, and when you inhale, you visualize kind of inhaling deep and goes until sort of below your navel. And then exhaling.
나고 얘네 마 돼야
얘네 좀
연네 난 당보들라 또 얘가로 얘가디 때 나고 연바드는 마 나고로 mov로 나고로 move 사네 다 로거라 로둥을 나고 얘바드는 말로.
So inhaling from left nostril, and then when you exhale from right nostril.
때 도스마 차르 숨제 탱 숨제
Yes.
이 자서나 당근 내지야 라바데 도스제로 도스마짱 도스 라바 얘기 채워라자 나고 연바데 까니로 도시네 탱 숨제.
So now next is, you just extend your arm, and you use your left hand to block, the left nostril, and you just repeat the same cycle 3 times.
되네 다 숨바텔라 라바 피메기 텔로자 다가나 나고 니자네 나랑고 야 니자네 마땅로 도시네.
And third, cycle, you bring your hand back on the knee, and then do same kind of exhaling, inhaling 3 times from both nostril.
도시 잘 숨지로 다 다들가 대바지 가리 가리요레서 바이나 다 낭베 쳐라 이체 영인지다 대바 영인지 임바이나 가족에 룽디 다 나랑 무비 가돌라 삼로 가리 당고여잖아 디 나랑 무비야기 룽디 에네 지 소속이 다 본조 좀 저기 나자기 덤바 저기 배야만은 소속이 라마단 다지 상기다 전주서바 대족이 호중도 이 진압 탐제 뉘니다 지 룽잉어 남발라 삼라다니 소소나굴라 지 룽아이 소소기 류가 이 숨바된도스마 진압이 마 강송 선배 삼로지 당로와 되네 마 치료를 비비 가도들라 다 소소 유라이 다지 교통만 매반에 사대 베게 지 대바 미게 초 녀모도 숨라서 봐 대소 강가 마치 lungi namba jinan tu ma chadang chilo la pyni ma da song dordana soso ge lunga yi sumbode nyomo be lunga yi sumbode mata be lunga yi sumbode ora mata be lunga yi sumbode da be lunga yi sumji ngor gyur song sambe dindigi ta meba jeba ina te yang soso la chilab juya la kebar yores ta dimingi ta chu kimilengen dindigi samlo yinba ina chi chole ichi mengen ichi ta chi chu kimileng namba sanji la chi debatan ti meba ina mengen jimba ina lungde nalo ngobe kadula chi soso ki yu la da chi jambadan jawa la soba ta chi zangbu ki yondong mijela soso mijela pen toya ki waya ki zangbu yondong kanyin bati chi soso la top song sambe ki samlo chi dang oda chi ngenbi ki soso yu ki ta choba ngenpa la soba chi komshi ngenpa la soba chi yorwa o tezu kiri namgi soso dan soso la chi mido biri suki pa kanyin bat chi cho damja chi chilo lo ngobdi kala tezu kanga ma meba cha song sang song oda komshi ngenpe chola ta kalo mindo sambe ki ta Dwe me sambe ki ta chi samla gawa gombe tindi gomba ina ki chepar yores.
Additional to that, depending on one's kind of belief system, it's for Buddhist practitioners, it's good to have a visualization along with that. When you inhale, you visualize inhaling the blessings of either three object of refuge, enlightened beings, or your spiritual teacher, Buddha, Bodhisattvas, the blessings of physical, verbal, mental, and in the form of air, you kind of inhale and you visualize receiving all of them. And then when you exhale, you visualize, afflictions, three poison that you have, accumulating since time beginningless, coming out from yourself. And therefore, physical, verbal, mental, therefore you visualize at the end, it's a purification process of yourself. And through with this kind of visualization as a Buddhist practitioner, there is also a benefit of receiving blessings. And without, somebody without religious belief, you can just visualize, positive qualities of loving kindness, compassion, all those things kind of, inhaling. And when you exhale, you visualize exhaling negativities, destructive, or maybe kind of, bad kind of habits, familiarities that is causing your, problem. So you visualize that, and then at the end, concluding with sense of joy and satisfaction.
Ta khayo la ki khabdu la phendo kare zana nga zo ki nima chigi na la ta tindi cheba yana nima te ki ring la soso ki chi sem lele chaya tang oda kabri chi yang lega tang tindi khabdu la chi sem thu daya ki su keba chiro tindi mitu sem lele deya la tindi phendo yores.
And the practical benefit of this is especially, there's a benefit when your mind is kind of greatly disturbed and kind of, disturbed or imbalanced, and it helps to kind of bring relaxation, calmness, the practical immediate benefit.
Tene ta tandagi karingo. Ta tandagi ta longro gutu ki tan jungkung segar mindo yuba ta bode kawani yombare zabaina jagan nala ngama nalenda ki kepa tuken naruba se chi yore naruba ne ta yu debege tindigi ta agomgi rimbachi.
And this 9-cycle breathing meditation, when we look at the sources, the origin, the great Saint scholar Naropa, the Indian master, invested us from him. That's that. Thank you.
Is this called the 6 yogas in Naropa?
Naruchiru Lavaris Lavomara.
Well, it's not, it's not.
No,
나를 주도 난기 지기랬지. 주도 난기 주도가 냠래 날라 단다디 요레스.
it is in the one of the 6 Naropa's yoga practice.
나를 주도가 냠래 날라.
Does Geshe recommend doing this practice primarily before our first meditation session of the day, or if we meditate multiple times during the day before each session?
Kadu teach what is occasionally Namdin Laure. Gom Zindangil Laure. Gom Jay to
당 아주 딜라 다른 진작이 건들라 디 림바체바라 남유 소소 제바이나 소소 야쇼 제바나 조게 가보 제바이나 테 야가도 티민지 양 까브데 가도 샘 투데베 갑도 지어라 샘 투데베 갑도라 람상 샘 말라네야라 디 펜도 양 갑도레 제바이나 테 샘 말라네야라 펜도 요레스.
Here, we do at the beginning of the session, I mean, in the class, but it is, usually saying it was especially helpful if you do in the morning by yourself.
Right.
And also when, you are going through strong mental disturbances. And that time it helps immediately to kind of calm your mind.
So you don't even have to do it as a practice, like you can just do it like at any time of the day.
근데 이거 소소 되게 개발 개요 말이야. 이게 난기 샘이 지고 말해. 난기 딸룽다 주부게 짜도 야고지 장바이나 주부게 치 주부게 저된데 렌지 그 요가게 돈이 다가는 딜레인 거래라. 자이게 주부 치 주부 중시 줘야 돼. 난기 샘 투바데 힘비 신기운 거라. 또 샘들 거 가지고 러라 바바이나 주부 레징게 대상해야 돼. 그
So yeah, there's no you can do anytime whenever you are available for this, and it's a practice that is primarily to calm down your mind, and which benefits not only mind but kind of vein channels, the nervous system as well. And it is considered that the illness disease comes from imbalances of the elements, and those comes from kind of mental, some kind of imbalance as well. And therefore, the more you are capable of maintaining your mind calm and peaceful balance, it's natural that brings physical better health.
네, 하다가 말해.
Sure.
Any question? Thank you. Okay.
I have a friend who works outside, and whenever there's a lot of wind, it really irritates him and disturbs his mind. And I just wonder if there's a connection.
You mean the wind? What was?
Wind, like the wind out
Oh, okay.
gets really irritating.
Around watching by your sound, the children lungs of you get it. Did you then watch by the show color Monday the show chuck the cat auto your road. The Nanglung the children the winner.
다행히 치기 농족이 갈로르당 아쪽에 치긴 중화 투발할 때는 아주 난기 삼로라 줄도 치 용거래. 딱그 이 아쪽에 단한 가져버다디 이 갈로르딘 나다 단다디 양제로 민
No. It's a COVID.
말해 다 가브리 지 남시 쳐보지 또 용도 알아 Some ranching pusu to the other, but some Latin chinju camping as some lola jingulo. We young do
Stress level.
stress, that's stress level.
Depression. So generally, he was saying, generally, you know, there is it's kind of generally there is a connection between external kind of, you know, external changes of the elements and internal, you know, sort of, and he was using an example of when the climate is sometimes more, you know, kind of dark, and people tend to have kind of more, you know, depressing, and has that kind of effect. And so it kind of brings some kind of imbalances of the mind. You know, it's just a weather, but still kind of there's that feeling.
Tangai samse, delangai samse jivanangai, then that Tachidunga lab mishete. Karazana, Chigin Jua Jita, Mazu Nang Jua Zubu Dubjaki Jua Jitiora, Tingila, Del Chamboyori, Karazana, Mazu Zubu Tuyade, Chigin Jua Jigi, the Yelada, or Chashi della Tene, Mazu Migi Zubu de Dubdiola, con Jua Jibotella Tene Dubuare. You might not Chigin Juagi Kempe, Mazuki Zubuki Juala, Jua Jibate, and the Yungor, Chilola Lonzo that is Yamade, Chigin Jua Tu Bikini, Jua Chamanya Bikini Yungora. There's you something.
He was saying, you know, it was his just guess. He wasn't sure, but there is definitely a connection between our internal kind of, you know, what we call elemental and external, because the part that is inside us is actually the part of the outside, you know, the wind or air. So when there is a kind of strong imbalances, which is kind of, you know, wind or whatever outside, it has to have some connection inside of us. But he said it was just his guess.
So this practice would be very beneficial.
The pental would all of it. Of course. He said yes. So you have to check whether it is beneficial or not. Just right. Yeah, just do it and then see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very caringo. Book Karira Bove Jingan, Pendan Dewa, Malin Juve, Chere Sewan, Tenzin Yaso, Shabe Site Bardo, Tenjurochi, Jabala Bave, Chisara Kimbo, Kambo de Ante Jende, Deda Gungi Jesu, Dalochi, Yawan Deda Tamje, Abdu, Tuzumujabe, Yawa Tamje, Yawa Kala, Choto Ngaba. Lajenge Sawa Digunjo Sambo Cheche Radu Moaragi Chimade. In the land and circle by snow white mountains, so happiness and benefit. Close in your person and generosity in your remain and sometimes just as the Buddha Sacrament, Geshe, attain all missions and surrounded by the Jew. So not to
follow in their footsteps. And saw the victorious leaders of the past, present, and future. Praise, dedication, and supreme. So now I too dedicate these sources of my merit for all beings to correct their actions.
Thank you. Thank you.